Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame, and this is the recap review for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion. So I had been debating on whether or not I was going to do this or not because I had already seen it, but I'd had a long but good week. So I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it Friday or Saturday. So here I am. Okay, y'all. So 30 years ago, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air premiered, and for me, it was something that was seen in my household as a family. We would watch this, we would watch Martin, and we watched Family Matters. Like those were like the top three shows that we watched as a family. We watched a whole lot of stuff as a family, but like when it came to black TV shows, especially when they were like sitcoms, we watched those as a family. Like those were considered to be family friendly. And it just was an added bonus that they were black faces. You know what I'm saying? People that we could relate to because it's like we're seeing ourselves. So anyway, like I said, this show came out 30 years ago. And the way that they actually filmed it, it was awesome because the way that it ended was the way that they had it to start off. You know, on the last episode, they had it where everything had been cleared out and Will cut off the light. So they had it where the light cut off for the last time on the actual episode, and then they had it where he actually cut it on and came in, and they like recreated the whole scene of the living room, you know, that whole setup. And so he was having his nostalgia moment when he walked in and he saw how they recreated it and all that other stuff. And then they actually had people come in one by one. Uh, it was awesome. You know what I'm saying? And I'd already heard that there was going to be a reunion, but well, at least me, let me say me, I didn't know whether or not Janet was going to be there, and that is considered to be the original, the original Vivian Banks. Yeah, Janet Huber. And yeah, so everybody was reminiscing. They actually had everybody in there, minus her and of course James Avery because he's deceased. But before everybody was in there, they had everybody but Roberto, and that's the guy who played Carlton or whatever, right? So he appeared from out of nowhere from upstairs, and everybody died laughing because it's like, really, you really still doing the same thing? Like you doing the most? Like it was hilarious. Like it fit because it was like old times, so to speak. So yeah, y'all. I think what I'm gonna do is kind of go one by one and just see how it flows. I don't know. We're gonna see how it go. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. So let me see how this go. If it don't go anywhere as far as how I think it should go, I'm just gonna cut it off and be done with it and just do the other recap reviews I was gonna do. Okay, y'all. So uh everybody was reminiscing about how amazing it had been, and they hadn't seen each other in a really long time, and everybody looks good. Everybody looks good. Um, Alfonso, who of course was Carlton, he was reminiscing about, you know, how his character kind of became and evolved into this person who was the comedic relief that was somewhat of the hype man. And you wouldn't have thought that his character was going to really be like that. And they realized quickly that his character was like very, very important. Karen Parsons, who is, of course, the person who played Hillary, she kind of didn't like the fact that she was always named as this person that nobody liked because she was so snooty and uppity and all this other stuff. But it just got to a point where she had to deal with it and realize that, you know, yeah, this is a character that I'm playing, and she would have to really get into this character. Y'all, Joseph Marcel, who of course played Jeffrey, the butler. I love him. I actually have followed him throughout the years, and I think sometime this year I saw him do an interview with someone, and they'd asked him about what was going on between Will and Janet, and he was just, you know, Basically everybody, for the most part, kind of got it wrong, so to speak, or they were just kind of like in the dark like us. Everybody had assumed that she had gotten fired, which we find out later on for certain that that was not the case, and I'm gonna get into that in a little while. Um, Daphne, who was the one who played the last Vivian Banks, she was there, and I've seen her from time to time on social media every other blue moon. But yeah, we actually learned that she has never met Janet in real life. I was very shocked that they had never met. And I'm gonna get to why now. I kind of can understand why, but yeah. Um, DJ Jazzy Jeff, y'all, I love him. The last time I saw him, uh, before I was working mandatory weekends and all this other stuff, I would catch him DJing for Earth, Wind, and Fire. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I used to see him. Now, I don't know if he's still doing it because I hadn't caught Earth, Wind, and Fire live in a while, because it's like uh, Saturdays, Daze or something like that, where they did Earth, Wind, and Fire. And they would actually have them on Zoom. You had a link that you could go to. There were times that I was like, okay, if they pan over to me, I'm gonna be dancing. But yeah, I have seen him do that. He's still doing stuff. I've seen him do some D-Nice stuff. Um, but the last time I did see him was in recent months when he was doing the DJ for Earth, Wind, and Fire. We all know that one of the members has since passed away, but they have still been keeping his memory alive. But I live for him. He looks good. Like, he looks good. That is something that I've noticed over the years too, that I don't know what he had to have done something right in his life, because he looks amazing. Um, y'all, at one point in time, towards the end, they had somebody come in and everybody was like, oh my gosh. I was like, who is this person? Y'all, the little boy who played Nikki, I was just like, who is this person? Y'all, I was just like, no, who is this? Like, I'm telling you, if they had to put a picture up of him to reference who he was as an adult now, I still would have been like, who is this person? Like, everybody was just like, oh my God, how you doing? Oh my God. And I was just like, who is this person? Y'all know I'm wrong, but I was just like, who is this person, Jesus? Lord. Okay, y'all. So they had little rituals. Like Fridays, they would come in, like everybody, not just the people who actually were seen on the TV screen from week to week. We actually would see, like they did the behind the scenes, and they showed where Will's room was like the place where the party was. The music would be bumping. Everybody would come in and like pack it out and be dancing and enjoying themselves, and it would just be amazing. It was just a ritual that they had before they would actually film their scenes on their designated days. I think it was like Tuesdays and Wednesdays or something like that, or Mondays and Tuesdays. They actually had random instruments, even if it was just sticks, that would be set out. And they would grab whatever they're going to get, whether it was a tambourine, go and take to a wall and beat that to make a beat, whatever you were going to do. But it was all in an effort to hype up the crowd. And I was just like, okay. And like they would hype, they were just like, oh my gosh, you don't understand the level of intensity that it would bring, and how awesome and how the energy would be in the room, because everybody was getting their life. It was hyping the crowd up before we had to go on and, record for that day. Like, they really would get the audience involved. And I was just like, wow, I would have loved to have been at any of the tapings, especially like the last one. I probably would have been crying. Y'all, so before I get to that, at first they did not have Janet in the room. And everybody was just, nothing was said about her initially. And then Will brought up the fact that, I would be remiss to sit up here and have a 30th you know, anniversary reunion and all that stuff without her. So I met up with her yesterday. So everybody's like, wow, because they have not spoken, they have not seen one another. I don't know if y'all have seen the back and forth that they've had for years. Like when I tell y'all, I had seen it before it had gotten really, really bad. It had gotten so bad that I had already been following Janet anyway. Because I had been I'm just like, what is going on? Because from her perspective, from what she was putting out there, I was just like, wait a minute, what is going on? For it to be this bad, like she would read him for filth. She would go completely off. And she was just always like, how dare you? I had a life going on. I had a child. How dare you? And it was kind of like we were given very, very small bits and pieces to kind of help us grasp her side, but it was never full out to me enough for me to say definitively, this is what happened. So they ended up actually recording when they linked up. They were in some like audience. I think it might have been the seats where they actually had filmed, because it was like the theater seating or whatever. So they showed them in there and they embraced, they talked, and she was just straight up like, why? Like, why did you do this to me? Why was this what you did? And he was just like, you know what? I was 21 years old. I was a kid. And it might sound stupid or it might sound crazy to you, but I just felt threatened. And she was just like, why were you threatened by me though? Like, why? Y'all, when I tell y'all, I almost teared up. Because she was like, I had a child. Apparently she had gotten pregnant, and she was also in a very abusive marriage. So for her, which a lot of people don't understand that this is real life for a whole lot of people, for her being able to come to work and get away from her husband, that was her safe place. But if I'm quoting correctly, what happened was they told her, okay, when she became pregnant, okay, you are going to have to work strictly for us and have no outside work. You got to work these specific days and whatever. Basically, she did not agree to the terms, and she, kind of walked away, because it was like nobody stood up for her and was like, you know what? No, please, we really want you to be here. So, we're willing to work with you. It was just kind of like, nah. And apparently he said, Will Smith, apparently he said that she's difficult to work with. And as we all know, and as she stated, that is the kiss of death, especially with her being a black woman, a dark-skinned black woman working in Hollywood. She was just looking like, look, I had a child. I was married in an abusive relationship. And at the time, he didn't even have a job. Like, I was the only one working. Like, what am I going to do? Like, she had essentially been blackballed. Like, that was so, I was just like, oh my gosh. And like, he was just sitting there like he was getting it now as like a 40-something, 50-something year old man now. And he admitted that he was wrong and he wished he had gone about it in a different way. And he regrets it because he had no idea. Because she was like, you just don't understand what I was going through at home. Like, you do not understand what I had going on in my personal life. And it had gotten to the point where when she was on set, she had completely stopped talking to everybody. So that kind of made her look some type of way, because she had been informed that Will was the reason why these things were happening. So everybody is looking at Will like, okay, this is his show, so we're gonna do what we gotta do. And in her mind, she was just like, look, I ain't got time to talk to y'all because y'all live for him. So what I look like still trying to have this same camaraderie with y'all when I know that whatever I do, y'all gonna go back to him. Like you could tell that she was very, very hurt by the situation and wished it had gone a different way. Like, you could hear the hurt in her voice. you could hear and see the hurt in his voice as well. And they had actually decided to squash it. They said they were good now. And when the lights and stuff came back up after, they'd actually shown the video footage, they had her actually come in and she greeted everybody, even the other Vivian Banks. And they embraced, they laughed, and everybody was just like, wow. Like, even Karen, who, played Hillary, she was like, I just couldn't believe it, seeing both of my moms. And it's interesting because Tatiana Ali was like really, really young. She was like 11 years old when she was on that show. She literally had her first kiss on that show. Like, she grew up on that set. She said, just like everybody else, she had been around them more than she was around her own family. And everybody felt like they were a real family. So after 6 years, when they knew it was going to come to an end, it was so bittersweet. It was very, very sad. Y'all, it was to the point where DJ Jazzy Jeff, he had his last scene, and it was before the ending scene. He was not going to be in any other scenes. He said that he already knew how he was going to be. So when his scene was over with, he slowly walked off the set, proceeded to go and get in a car and go and fly home. He flew home because he said he already knew how it was going to be for him. So he was like, nah, he didn't want to be around for it. I was like, dang, you went all the way off. So he left. He didn't want to be a part of the end of it. Like, there was no bad blood or anything like that. He was just like, he already knew that it was going to be a lot. He already knew he was going to be emotional, and he just didn't even want to go there. So he just left because he didn't even want to do it. They showed a lot of what happened at the end, where everybody was hugging and embracing. Like, you could literally see everybody super sad. And the iconic scenes, especially the scene where Will meets his father and how his father ends up being trash as he usually was. And they kept recreating that, and he recounted how he wanted that scene to be perfect. And he looked up to James Avery, who was, Uncle Phil. And he was just like, I really want to deliver this, because a lot of people looking at him like he just a dumb rapper. Like, he ain't nobody. He don't know how to act. We out here. We actually know how to act and all this other stuff. He didn't even have to really audition like that. Like, apparently the way the situation went was Quincy Jones had a birthday party, and somebody was saying something about, somebody pitched the idea and said that they wanted Will to be the person who was going to have this TV show. And so he was kind of looking like, okay, because he's a rapper. Like, he's looking like, okay, I don't know nothing about acting. I don't know nothing about none of this. So he went to see Quincy Jones while he was literally at his own birthday party. Quincy Jones was like, all right, you have to audition. Like, right now. He was like, well, right now, like, I'm not prepared. Like, I don't have anything prepared. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, nothing. And so he was like, look, you're going to have to do it now, because everybody else, they already in place. They already know what they're going to do. It's either now or never. So he was like, give me 10 minutes. And so he was like, all right, audition in 10 minutes. So he did whatever he was going to do. And like, literally everything that Will said, he was like, oh, okay. Like, he was like, well, I'm a rapper from Philly. He was like, okay, the character's from Philly. And he was just looking like, okay. So yeah, y'all, it was just a lot of interesting things that we found out. Like, when we saw Will and DJ Jazzy Jeff, the clothing that they would wear, especially the Jordans and different shoes they would wear, they would get stuff like 6-7 weeks before they would be released, probably even longer out. And it would be featured, and people circulate these pictures from when they initially were first shot for the sneakerheads. Like, I know a lot of sneakerheads, and they live for stuff like this. Y'all already know how a lot of these Jordans keep being re-released. Yeah. They were getting first dibs on all this stuff, and it was being seen, the different clothes they were wearing, all of that. So yeah, it's bittersweet how a lot of this stuff went down, but I'm glad that Will and Janet are on better terms now. I don't think everything has been completely healed, but because they legit was like, we said some evil and hateful stuff to one another, like they were really going back and forth really, really bad. And at one point in time, it had gotten so bad that I had seen a live that she did or a video when she literally had like just uploaded it on YouTube. And I had watched it, and then out of nowhere, the Shade Room or somebody picked it up. Like, that's how bad. Like, when I tell y'all, they were like, oh, Janet Huber steps into the Shade Room, da 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 da. And they were, you know, basically going over what she said. I'm talking about it was so bad. I was like, oh my gosh. And like stuff like that always made me wonder what really was going on. But she had to clarify that she'd never been fired. She had to walk away because the terms were not met, and you know, whatever. Y'all get down in the comment section and let me know. But yeah, she legit was like, I never got fired. But at the same time, you could tell that Will didn't fight for her, and he kind of put a nail in her coffin when it came to her career, because he said that she was difficult to work with when she herself said that she wasn't. And she didn't have any issues with anybody on set. So it's like, why would you even say that? And, you know, like I said earlier, he was talking about how he felt threatened by her. And I'm just like, why would you even say that? That is so crazy. But anyway, y'all, this was a very amazing situation. They had a segment where they were talking about James Avery. They were playing different scenes where he was in it, and it was so sad to watch. It was so sad because he's not here. That man died in 2013. And like a lot of people looked up to him. Oh, and like I was saying before, y'all, I knew I was going to go off the deep end. But what I was saying was, he did that scene about his father, and he really wanted to impress James. And he was just like, oh my gosh, I practiced my lines. I really, really want to impress him. And when he went over his lines and he did it, and they did the taping in front of the live studio audience, he flubbed like a very important part of it or something. And he got so upset about it. Like, he was just like, ah, like that's how mad he was. And then James Avery had to tell him, look, listen, calm down. You need to focus on me. And once he told him to just look at him and do what he got to do and deliver it, that exact scene that we saw was exactly the take that happened. And then when they embraced and hugged, they did all of that. He said James told him, now that's acting, while they were hugging. I was like, oh my God, like the stuff that we found out about, it was so crazy, y'all. It was amazing. Now, if you have not seen this, please look it up. When I tell you, it is everywhere. I have seen it everywhere. My sister sent me a link that's on YouTube apparently. And when I saw the wording in the link, I was like, I already saw it, because I did. I had already seen it. But anyway, y'all, hopefully y'all enjoyed this recap review. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Y'all let me know down in the comment section if y'all liked it too. Anyway, like, comment, share, subscribe. I hope y'all have a good evening. I will see y'all later on for a couple of more recap reviews. Bye.